Most of us spend our lives trying to climb the ladder of success, only to reach the top and realize it is leaning against the wrong wall. We master communication techniques, we adopt productivity hacks, and we study the personality traits of successful people. Yet, despite all this effort, we often find ourselves stuck in the same cycles of frustration, broken relationships, and unfulfilled potential. The problem is not our effort, the problem is our paradigm. We are trying to change the fruit without ever examining the roots. In 1989, Stephen Covey published a book that fundamentally shifted the landscape of personal and professional development. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People is not a collection of quick fixes or superficial tips. It is a profound, principle-centered framework for aligning your life with universal laws of human effectiveness. Covey argues that true success cannot be built on the personality ethic, the superficial techniques and social masks we wear to get ahead. It must be built on the character ethic, the foundational principles of integrity, humility, fidelity, and courage. Today, we are going to embark on a comprehensive journey through this masterpiece. We will dissect the psychology behind the 7 habits, explore the paradigm shifts they require, and provide a deep, actionable blueprint for transforming your life from the inside out. This is the ultimate guide to moving from dependence to independence, and finally, to profound interdependence. Before we can build new habits, we must understand how we see the world. Covey introduces the concept of paradigms, which are the mental maps through which we interpret reality. If your map of New York City is actually a map of Chicago, no amount of positive thinking or behavioral change will help you find your destination. You must first change the map. Most of us operate with flawed maps, conditioned by our upbringing, our culture, and our past experiences. The 7 habits require an inside-out approach. This means that private victories must precede public victories. You must master yourself before you can effectively lead others. You cannot fake sincerity. You cannot use communication techniques to build trust if your underlying character is flawed. True effectiveness is an inside job. This brings us to habit 1, be proactive. This is the foundational habit upon which all others rest. Being proactive means recognizing that you are the programmer of your own life. It is the understanding that between any stimulus and your response, there is a space. In that space lies your freedom and your power to choose your response. Reactive people are driven by feelings, by circumstances, by the environment, and by the moods of others. They speak in reactive language, I have to, I can't, he makes me so mad. Proactive people, however, speak in proactive language, I choose to, I prefer, I will. They recognize that while they cannot control everything that happens to them, they have absolute control over how they respond. Covey illustrates this with the harrowing story of Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist who survived the Nazi concentration camps. Frankl was subjected to the most horrific, dehumanizing conditions imaginable. Yet, he discovered that the guards could control his environment, they could control his body, but they could not control his mind. He realized that his ultimate human freedom was the ability to choose his attitude in any given set of circumstances. This is the essence of proactivity. To practice this, Covey introduces the circle of concern and the circle of influence. Your circle of concern includes everything you care about, the weather, the economy, national politics, the opinions of others. Your circle of influence includes the things you can actually do something about, your own behavior, your own skills, your own reactions. Reactive people focus their energy on the circle of concern, which causes their circle of influence to shrink. Proactive people focus their energy on their circle of influence, which causes it to expand. As a leader, as a professional, and as a human being, you must ruthlessly audit where you spend your mental energy. Stop complaining about things you cannot change, and take massive, deliberate action on the things you can. Once you accept responsibility for your life, you must give it direction. This is habit 2, begin with the end in mind. This habit is based on the principle that all things are created twice. There is a first creation, which is the mental creation, the blueprint, the plan. And there is a second creation, which is the physical creation, the actual building of the thing. If you do not consciously design the first creation, you will end up living out the second creation of other people's plans, or you will be driven by your own impulses and circumstances. Covey asks you to perform a powerful thought experiment. Imagine you are driving to a funeral. As you pull into the parking lot, you realize the funeral is for you. You walk into the chapel, and you see your family, your friends, your colleagues, and your community gathered to pay their respects. You step up to the podium to hear the eulogies. What do you want them to say about you? What kind of father, mother, spouse, friend, and professional were you? What contributions did you make? What character did you possess? This exercise is not meant to be morbid, it is meant to be clarifying. It forces you to define your ultimate values and your life's mission. From this, Covey advises creating a personal mission statement. This is your personal constitution, your unchanging core, against which you can evaluate every decision, every relationship, and every use of your time. It is the lens through which you view the world. When you have a clear end in mind, you stop climbing the wrong ladder. You stop achieving goals that do not align with your deepest values. You begin to lead your life by design, rather than by default. With a clear destination in mind, you must now manage your journey. This is habit 3. Put first things first. This is the practical fulfillment of habits 1 and 2. It is the physical creation. Covey argues that effective management is not about managing time, it is about managing yourself. Time is a constant, you cannot create more of it. You can only choose how you allocate it. To do this effectively, you must understand the time management matrix, which categorizes activities based on 2 factors, urgency and importance. Quadrant I contains activities that are both urgent and important. These are crises, pressing problems, and deadline-driven projects. You must deal with these, but if you live entirely in Quadrant I, you will burn out. Quadrant 4 contains activities that are neither urgent nor important. These are time wasters, excessive entertainment, and trivial busywork. You must minimize these. Quadrant 3 contains activities that are urgent but not important. These are the interruptions, the unnecessary meetings, the emails that demand immediate attention but do not contribute to your long-term mission. These are the activities that trick us into feeling productive while actually leading us away from our goals. The secret to highly effective people is that they live in Quadrant 2. These are activities that are important but not urgent. This is where strategic planning happens. This is where relationship building happens. This is where exercise, learning, and preparation happen. Because these activities are not urgent, they are easy to neglect. But investing heavily in Quadrant 2 shrinks Quadrant I. By preparing, preventing, and planning, you reduce the number of crises you face. Covey uses the metaphor of the big rocks. If you fill a jar with sand and pebbles first, there is no room for the big rocks. But if you put the big rocks in first, the sand and pebbles will fill the spaces around them. Your big rocks are your most important Quadrant 2 activities. Schedule them first, and let the trivial matters fill in the gaps. Habits 1, 2, and 3 constitute the private victory. They move you from dependence to independence. They make you the master of your own life. But true effectiveness does not stop at independence. The highest level of human achievement is interdependence. The ability to work effectively with others, to build deep relationships, and to achieve things together that you could never achieve alone. To make this leap, you must understand the concept of the emotional bank account. Every relationship has an emotional bank account. Deposits are made through kindness, keeping promises, clarifying expectations, and showing personal integrity. Withdrawals are made through broken promises, disrespect, and arrogance. If your balance is high, you have a reserve of trust that can absorb mistakes and misunderstandings. If your balance is low, every interaction is a potential conflict. The public victory habits are the ultimate deposits into this account. This brings us to habit 4, think win-win. This is the paradigm of human interaction. Most people are conditioned to think in terms of binary opposition: if you win, I lose. This is the win-lose paradigm, which is highly competitive and adversarial. Others are conditioned to lose-win, where they are doormats, constantly giving in to avoid conflict. And some choose lose-lose, where they are so focused on hurting the other person that they are willing to hurt themselves in the process. Win-win is a frame of mind and heart that constantly seeks mutual benefit in all human interactions. It is based on the abundance mentality, the paradigm that there is plenty out there for everybody. It is not a pie to be divided, it is an ever-expanding feast. Win-win requires immense integrity, maturity, and the courage to stand up for your own needs while deeply respecting the needs of others. Covey introduces a powerful concept: win-win or no deal. If you cannot find a solution that benefits both parties, it is better to agree to disagree agreeably and walk away than to enter into an agreement that will breed resentment. This removes the pressure to force a bad deal and preserves the relationship for future opportunities. In leadership, in business, and in life, win-win is the only viable long-term strategy. Once you have established a win-win paradigm, you must communicate effectively. This is habit 5, seek first to understand, then to be understood. This is the single most important principle in the art of human relations. Most people do not listen with the intent to understand, they listen with the intent to reply. They are either speaking, or preparing to speak. They filter everything through their own paradigms, projecting their own autobiography onto the other person. Covey calls this autobiographical listening, and it destroys trust. To truly understand, you must practice empathic listening. This means listening with your eyes, your heart, and your ears. You are listening for feeling and meaning, not just words. You are stepping inside the other person's frame of reference. You are giving them psychological air. Just as the human body needs oxygen to survive, the human spirit needs to be understood. When you listen empathically, you make massive deposits into the emotional bank account. You validate their reality. Covey uses the medical metaphor: you would never trust a doctor who prescribes medication before diagnosing the problem. Yet, in our personal and professional lives, we constantly prescribe solutions before we have truly diagnosed the problem. We offer advice, we judge, we probe, and we interpret, all before we have taken the time to deeply understand the other person's situation. When you seek first to understand, you gather the data you need to provide a truly effective solution. And when the other person feels deeply understood, their defenses drop, and they become open to your influence. You can then seek to be understood, and your communication will be clear, concise, and highly effective. When you combine the trust built through win-win thinking with the deep understanding of empathic listening, you unlock habit 6, synergize. Synergy is the habit of creative cooperation. It is the understanding that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. 1 + 1 = 3, or 10, or 100. Synergy is not compromise. In compromise, 1 + 1 = 1.5. Both parties give up something to meet in the middle. In synergy, both parties give up their defensive, low-level thinking and collaborate to find a third alternative that is better than what either of them originally proposed. Synergy requires you to value differences. If two people have the exact same opinion, one of them is unnecessary. The mental, emotional, and psychological differences between people are not obstacles to be overcome, they are the raw materials for innovation. A highly synergistic team is one where members feel safe enough to be vulnerable, to disagree passionately, and to build upon each other's ideas without ego getting in the way. They recognize that their own perspective is limited, and they actively seek out the perspectives of others to expand their vision. Synergy is the ultimate expression of interdependence. It is where the magic of human collaboration happens. It is how you solve complex problems, how you build great companies, and how you create a beautiful family life. Finally, we arrive at habit 7, sharpen the saw. This is the habit that makes all the other habits possible. It is the habit of continuous, balanced self-renewal. Covey tells the story of a man sawing a tree. He has been sawing for 5 hours and is exhausted. A passerby asks, "Why don't you take a break and sharpen your saw? You would finish much faster." The man replies, "I don't have time to sharpen the saw, I'm too busy sawing." We all fall into this trap. We are so focused on production that we neglect our production capability. We burn out our physical, mental, and emotional resources in the pursuit of short-term results. Habit 7 is about preserving and enhancing your greatest asset, yourself. It requires renewal in 4 dimensions. First, the physical dimension. This involves caring for your physical body through proper nutrition, adequate rest, and regular exercise. It is about building your physical endurance, strength, and flexibility. If your body is weak, your mind cannot be sharp, and your emotions will be volatile. Second, the spiritual dimension. This is your core, your center, your commitment to your value system. It is the source of guidance and strength. You sharpen the spiritual saw through meditation, prayer, studying great literature, connecting with nature, or simply taking time for quiet reflection. It is about reconnecting with your personal mission statement from Habit 2. Third, the mental dimension. Most of our mental renewal comes through formal education. But once we leave school, we must take responsibility for our own mental growth. We must read widely, we must write, we must learn new skills, and we must plan. We must not let our minds become dull from the passive consumption of entertainment. We must actively engage in lifelong learning. Fourth, the social and emotional dimension. This is primarily exercised in our interactions with others. It is the practice of empathy, of synergy, of intrinsic security. It is the continuous work of building our emotional bank accounts and seeking win-win solutions. These 4 dimensions are deeply interconnected. Neglecting one will eventually lead to the degradation of the others. By consistently sharpening the saw, you create an upward spiral of growth, change, and continuous improvement. You move from dependence to independence, and from independence to interdependence, on an ever higher plane. As we conclude this deep exploration of Stephen Covey's masterpiece, it is vital to understand that the 7 habits are not a checklist to be completed. They are a lifelong journey. They are principles, and principles are natural laws. You cannot break them, you can only break yourself against them. When you align your life with these principles, you experience a profound shift in your effectiveness, your relationships, and your inner peace. The journey begins with the private victory. You must be proactive, taking responsibility for your life. You must begin with the end in mind, defining your ultimate destination. You must put first things first, executing your priorities with discipline. This builds the character and the independence necessary to move to the public victory. You must think win-win, seeking mutual benefit in all interactions. You must seek first to understand, building deep trust through empathic listening. You must synergize, creating innovative solutions through creative cooperation. And underlying it all, you must sharpen the saw, continuously renewing your physical, spiritual, mental, and social capacities. This is the path of the highly effective person. It is not an easy path. It requires constant vigilance, deep self-reflection, and the courage to change your paradigms. But the reward is a life of profound meaning, deep connection, and lasting impact. You will no longer be a victim of your circumstances. You will be the architect of your destiny. You will lead not by force, but by principle. You will influence not by manipulation, but by trust. Thank you for joining this deep dive into the 7 habits of highly effective people. If this framework resonates with you, if it challenges you to look at your life from the inside out, share it with someone who is ready to climb the right ladder. Remember, effectiveness is not a destination, it is a continuous process of becoming. Go forth, sharpen your saw, and build a life of true, principle-centered effectiveness.